This is a little bit of a night preview for having both foil 2-0 defeats in our midweek fixtures. West Ham and Bournemouth provide Monday night's entertainment at the London Stadium in the Premier League. West Ham were put to the sword by Liverpool last time out. It was not deserved, as we know, as we all watched. Well, Bournemouth, resilient run under Gary O'Neill, came to an end against Southampton. Now, this is going to be an extremely interactive show. It is, if you are very keen in getting involved and coming on the channel, you just simply need to dial the following numbers that are rolling along the bottom of your screen. Dial 0116 318 3846 if you want to come on and have a chin wag with me. Or if you're in an international number, you have to dial +44 1163 83846. This comes on and gives you your little opinion when it comes to West Ham game tomorrow evening. Now, I am excited about the game. Why not? It's West Ham after all, isn't it? Let me get my camera sorted out for you whilst we are on live. And I know that many of you didn't get a notification. I did plan to do this show a lot earlier than what I did. However, circumstances took over, as you can imagine, family, you name it, etc. So I've decided to bring the show to you tonight instead. Now, we will be coming to you live with loads of matchday content tomorrow, so please check in for it. Now, had it not been for the past anecdote of James Mills, could have very well came away beated Liverpool. Past the reach of Lucas. Probably, maybe could have scored a few more on the night, but Liverpool were hitted Alisson by keeping out Jared Bowen's spot kicks before the break. Now, this afternoon, David Moyes' side are languishing in the lower rankings of the Premier League table, and depending on the results today, which we do know, we are, it's just results haven't gone that great, so a win is very, very important for us. Now, only 2 points separate West Ham and Bournemouth, and indeed we have won each of our last 5 Premier League games played on a Monday, and could now win 6 in a row on a specific day for the first time in our history. What do we know a little bit about Gary O'Neill? Now, they did get beat to Southampton thanks to a Shea Adams goal. And, you could say that Southampton were lucky to get the result over the line, but you can't fault what Gary O'Neill has been at Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth prepared for Monday night's game, 1 place and 2 points better off than West Ham, like we said, in the table in 13th. But like West Ham, O'Neill could drop dangerously close to the relegation zone this week. And thanks to no small part in their 9-0 demolition at Anfield, Bournemouth travelled to London, having conceded a whopping 18 goals on the road this season. Only Leicester have conceded more in that department, but scoring 6 goals in our last 3 away games will serve them a bit of encouragement as well. Now, ahead of the game tomorrow, Max out with a calf injury, a thigh injury. Paqueta suffered an injury, looks like a shoulder injury, possibly a collarbone injury related to the game against Southampton. And Naif Aguerd obviously has been out, but all 4 are there or thereabouts. And it's going to be interesting to see if either or all of them make this the team. Now, like I said, this is an impromptu show. Definitely is an impromptu show. So if you are interested in coming on, then all you need to do is dial the number below and you get your chance to come on and voice your opinion. And you're more than welcome to do it. So please do, because it's very, very interactive, a very, very interactive show. And we want your opinion. I know there's people in the chat already. I just want to make sure I've got this all set up properly for you while it is working. Give me 2 seconds here. And need to share the audio. That's coming on. And then there we go. So, more than welcome to jump on and have a chin wag with me as well. Luthers is in the house. Can you hear me now? sorry, if you can, just let me know if you can hear me now. I've got rid of something that was in the background that was having an effect on it. So Ludders is saying we desperately need a win. Now 17 on the 17th in the table. Absolutely, we do. Especially, with the Aston Villa result this weekend, and some of the other results as well haven't really played into our hands at all this week. So yeah, we do, and definitely need to get the win on the board. But a couple of wins and 3 points away from pushing quite far up the league. Like, it's just one of those so far seasons this year, hasn't it been? Chris Green says you keep cutting out, mate. No, I know. Apologies, I have sorted that out now, but you can hear us okay. Usual suspect is saying if we can't beat Bournemouth at home Monday night, then it really is time for a change of management. I'm not there, mate. I'm really not. I know there's so many, like, it's just such a split fan base again when it comes to this, but the big key element here is, and as you can see from the title, if Dawson is able to make the game, now lots of smoke and mirrors kicking about there in relation to this, but if Dawson can make this game, then that's a big game changer, because that really then pushes us, it changes the whole dynamics of the team. It changes the whole dynamics of the team. It pushes Kira out to the right back position. It gives us that solidified defensive approach, the brick wall, which is what we've been missing. And there's no, can't really beat about the bush here when it comes to things like Craig Dawson. He's been so effective when he's been back in the team. And it really has helped us. It really has helped us push on when he's been back in the team. It shows you how important he is. So important, isn't he? It's ridiculous that I still can't get my head around the fact of how important he actually is to the team. But it's great. It's amazing to think that. Sorry, I'm just waiting on this kicking back in again. And I know there's more comments. Don't worry, I will get through them. Like I said, if you are interested in coming on, then please dial that number. That number is free. So click and dial in. It's always good to get people to come on as well and have their opinion. It definitely is. It's totally worthwhile. But for me, yeah, the vital part here is Craig Dawson. This is the key element for me. Dawson is key to be playing tomorrow. And if he's not playing tomorrow and we're lining up with, say, Kira in the centre-back position, then I'm still confident. I'm just not as confident as what we'd normally be when it comes to this team. Now, Paqueta, I've seen him doing a couple of training videos. I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on about him, whether or not he'll be available or not. But I think we may see him in the team sheet tomorrow, and we know how much of a player he is and how important he is to West Ham. So fingers crossed we do get him there. Another player that I think is really important to us is Max Corney. We've not seen him. Whether this game comes too soon for him, I'm not too sure, but I think he would be such a fantastic player to have back. And whether, I don't think he would start if he was available, but if he was there, he'd come off the bench. And he's been so effective for West Ham this season in the games that he's been playing. He's been so effective, 100% as well. Much better. Sorry about that. Listen, please, I know some of you are there. If you haven't been on, just come on and voice your opinion, please. It's the whole point of the show. I want to make it as interactive as I possibly can for this game as well. Let me jump into the comments and see where we are. And Chris Green is saying, we win, we're mid-table. We lose, we're banging trouble. It's huge game. It is. It really is. It's just the way that the nature of the way the games have worked and the way the games have been played and some of the results that have come through, especially with Aston Villa's result as well, really has kind of put a bit of pressure onto the game. It's made the game a lot bigger than theory what it should be. And Luthers is right here. You're totally right. We don't take our chances in front of goal. How many have we missed this season? We have missed a lot, but it goes back to that whole kind of, are we clicking or are we not? I think we are. I just think we're not utilising the situation as it is just now. The way we set up against Liverpool, I was proud of the team, proud of the performance, but it was never going to be a game that would suit Scamacca's style. And this is not for us. I've seen some people trying to say that give it another 6 months and you see Scamacca go down the Sebastian Haller route. Absolutely not. I don't see that at all. I think that the way that we set up against Liverpool, whether you look at that defensive-minded or not, it was never going to suit a striker. But they, to a certain extent, did a job. You could turn around and say, well, if we went for them and at them even more with more intensity, we could have won the game. But if you watch the Liverpool Nottingham Forest game at the weekend, Nottingham Forest never went at them with an intensity. Nottingham Forest really got the better of them when Liverpool were on the attack, and they countered against them as well. And they grew into the game after they got the goal, and they had a few opportunities at the end. But Liverpool started battering their goal in the second half. So, the game, even though Nottingham Forest got the victory, the game was a very different game to the West Ham game against them as well. But we do need to take our chances as well. Usual Suspect says, Anton, think of Everton, think of Nottingham Forest. It's just not good enough. I know, but then go back. Go back. For me, it's all about, the start of the season. If we hadn't assigned players, it wouldn't have been good enough. We've signed players and they're not adapting yet, and they're taking their time, and that's not good enough. So what is good enough? For me, you've got to trust in the process. It's maybe a broken record for me, but you do have to trust in the process. The process is about everything he's trying to build, settle in the team. He's now playing the players. Now we're seeing West Ham playing the players. Now we're seeing David Moyes giving these players a shot. And when you think we're ready to give the players more of a shot, then you get hit with injuries. Now, you can't do anything about injuries. And we are extremely unlucky as a football team when it comes to injuries. Like, I don't know any other teams that have got a situation similar to us in terms of having Dawson, Zuma, Aguerd, all not fit for a game. And we have to put a makeshift central defence together. It is extremely, extremely unlucky. The last two games have been disappointing. We should have won them both. We need to win the next couple and move up the league and shut up all the Moyes out nuts. Yeah, I do agree with you. And it is a results business, so we do need to go out and go and get the results, Adam. 100%. Completely agree with you. It's fine for me to sit here and say trust in the Moyes process, but we could be here in February and still not winning games. So, the Premier League is dog eat dog, and it's a results game. You need to go and get the results. So we need to do it, and there's no other better time now to go against Bournemouth at home under the lights and go and smash a result if we can. That is the key part here. Let's go and get this result tomorrow. Let's have the confidence. Let's have the belief. Let's get the fans on board. Let's hopefully hope that our players are fit. They're all bouncing off each other. Because I did see, the one thing that the Liverpool game taught me was the unity within the squad is still there. The unity is still there with an abundance. You've seen Declan Rice talk after the game. You've seen some of the other players talk after the game. You saw the manager talk. And you can see how devastated they were. Now, you need to turn that devastation into results and get results over the line. That's the key element. Finish the balls, put the balls in the back of the net. I'm telling you now, we're long overdue giving a team a walloping. We haven't done it for so long, and I'm not saying it's going to be Bournemouth, but we are long overdue from giving a team a walloping, and I think that we are closely getting there. Now, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. We turn up tomorrow, we have the wrong team, a negative approach, and we don't win the game. It's not looking good because these are the games you need to be going and winning. But we can't underestimate the opposition. We can't underestimate what Gary O'Neill is currently doing at Bournemouth. Because you've got to give him credit where credit's due. Yeah, he's taking on a Scott Parker team, but he's maximising the opportunity that he's been given with the players that he's got. And it is obviously working as well. Moore is saying, let's hope we use the attacking players. Important to start Benny. Again, that will also be down to what Moyes is thinking in terms of, we've seen it happen before. We've seen players like Jared Bowen last year, who was injured and wasn't told he wasn't coming back, and suddenly out of the blue he was fit again. So I think that we will see an attacking side tomorrow. I think Ben Rama will start, and I think it'll be good for his confidence to start. And I think as long as Ben Rama starts and we've got Paqueta through the middle, then that will really benefit the two players. I keep referring to them, not in terms of similarity, in terms of their style of play, but in terms of the connection, the dual factor when we had Lanzini and Payet, that they will play really well with each other. You'll probably see the best of Ben Rama when Paqueta plays. And Paqueta is the kind of impact player. So that's a really important thing for me. So if Benny plays, to maximise Benny, I would love it nothing more than Paqueta to be playing with him. I think that is totally vital as well. Moyes not convinced on Corney, which means he's a great attacker, but not so good at tracking back. I don't know, Moore, if he isn't a fan of him. I think he actually is a fan of him. I actually think that, subject to his injury, we're probably going to see Max Cornet starting out in the left quite a lot, if not more than ever. We have to only go back to the time that he played for West Ham before he got his injury. He was an effective player. He was involved in pretty much all the goals. He was involved in winning penalties. He was driving the team forward. He was connecting the midfield to the strikers. He was really heavily involved. So I think he does like Cornet. I think, unfortunately, he's been a subject to the injuries, and that's really had a knock-on effect to West Ham this season and Max's Cornet's chances of starting, which is disappointing because I really highly rate him. I think he'll be a fantastic player for us as well. Mikey's in the house, mate. Really hope we are getting those 3 points. Listen, Mikey, do you want to come on? I'll tell you what as well. I won't just do the phone call thing. I'll give you the StreamYard link, which will go in the chat. If anyone's interested in clicking on it and coming on for a couple of minutes to have their say, then you're more than welcome on this Sunday evening as well. But yeah, I really do hope we'll be getting those 3 points. I absolutely do. It'll be vital for us, especially with the results that's happened this weekend. Adam is saying football's always up and down. We support West Ham if we win a cup and top half. That's a good season, Adam. Absolutely. And the thing is, I go back to, we're not still in this season yet, really. It's been such a topsy-turvy season. You know, when we think we're going to play Scamacca after the Aston Villa game, what happens? He gets a virus, and then we're missing from him for a couple of weeks. Then he comes back, and it takes a while to get into the game. Then he bangs in a couple of goals. Then we play Liverpool, but we have an injury crisis in the defence, so we have to make shift what's happening in the defensive area that takes away from Scamacca's game. And it's really and one of the key factors Scamacca's game is Paqueta, and he was missing as well. So it's just a little knock-on effect. Now, I know teams have to deal with injuries and get on with that and deal with the squad, but you're talking about 2 players that have recently hit form together, which is what you working in tandem and hitting form together. And when you are missing one piece of that jigsaw, it can have a detrimental effect. But the main issue for us is what happens at the defence, because you're then creating a makeshift defence. And when we are criticising players like Vladimir Coufal, the reason we're criticising players like Vladimir Coufal is that they don't work well with Jared Bowens, because Jared Bowens has to drop back to support West Ham, which, if you look at the Everton game, that's exactly what Jared Bowen did. And because Coufal turned the ball over so many times and lost possession so many times, it had a negative impact on our right-hand side attacking options, and Jared Bowen had to drop deep. But the minute we secured that right-back position with someone like Kira in there, it gave Bowen the opportunity to open his horizons and push forward again and not have to rely so heavily on coming back. And when you look at his touch map from the game against Everton to now, you see a completely different story when you've got someone like Sefala Johnson at right back compared to Kira at right back as well. Mikey is saying, I agree, we've brought in a lot of players, can't expect them to magically connect on the pitch from the get-go. Yeah, absolutely not. But I do think it's there. It's there or thereabouts, Mikey. I think we're close. I really do. And the worrying thing then you've got is, you know, if let's say they connect tomorrow and they get a really good result against Bournemouth, then everyone will be expecting that's it. It's all rose again. It's not like that. It doesn't work like that, you know. So, but something we have to utilize on our side is that a lot of these players are fighting for spots or have got a spot in the World Cup squad. So, and if they've got a guaranteed spot, they've got other players looking over their shoulders for the country looking in. So they want to play to high standards. Paquetas will want to play, get game time ahead of the World Cup. Obviously, their Declan Rices, etc. All these players will want to get game time as well. There are a lot more. There are a lot of Moyes out. Well, when I say a lot, I don't know. It could be a minority. When you look on social media, I still put this out there and say that maybe social media is a minority. But if you look at the stats, if I was to do a poll, which could easily do just now, are you Moyes in, are you Moyes out? I wouldn't be surprised. Do you know what? I might even just do that just now, just to see what people's opinion is. I'm doing it because I'm trying to prove a point here. Does social media show us different to what we really think? I think it does. But not necessarily as well. But listen, we've got our first guest of the evening, and it's been a while since he's been on. Our good friend all the way over from Belgium, and it's Mr. Mikey. Boy, how you doing, my man? You all right?
I'm doing great. I couldn't sleep, so excuse me for the attire, but I saw you were on, so I thought to jump in.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. You are an absolute legend in not just our eyes as a West Ham network, but the West Ham fan base. You know, that video you did with your Anderlecht friends, mate, just went down an absolute treat. So if anyone hasn't seen it, you need to go and check it out on Mikey's Twitter account. And for anyone that doesn't know, you're massive. Well, you tell them. Yeah,
usually. Yeah. So I've been on last year when West Ham played Genk in the Europa League, which of course West Ham, let's say you guys won. But the way the fan base treated me, the way they accepted my knowledge of Genk, let's say, the way they embraced me, it really stuck with me, and I've decided to keep following the club, keep following the fans, and do my best to become a true Hammer myself. So that's been going great. And to give you a bit of backstory on that video I did, there was actually a plan to have, because we have like 3 co-workers that are huge Anderlecht fans, and our marketeer, she was like, okay, well, we're going to do something. You're going to come in with your West Ham shirt, and those Anderlecht fans, that will be standing there tough and all that. So I went in the parking lot. I was like, hey, are those guys ready? Do they have their attire on? Because otherwise, and she's like, yeah, they all forgot. I was like, whoa, that's weak. And I told her, just film. I'll do something. She's like, no, I'm not gonna film. And I went like, I'll film.
Love it.
So that's the backstory there.
I love it. I just love the fact though that you've decided that you're going to take this journey with us. I know you've got your true love at home in Belgium, but the fact that you've just kind of taken on board, and you really are taking a keen interest on it, Mikey, as well. And I love that. I think it's amazing. It's really nice, and we open our arms up and welcome you really, really with big arms. And you're it's just lovely. It's really, really nice. It's really nice. So
it does feel that way indeed, because first off, when it's really hard to get the sense of, hey, I'm really liking another club than the one you actually love with all your heart. Kind of feels a bit like cheating. But of course, that first season, okay, you're kind of getting to know the lads, and you're kind of getting to know the story behind the club. But for the last transfer window, I was really like, okay, we're getting Cornet now. Okay, we're getting Downs. Seeing him with a scar from his granddad, it's such a magical trip, to the point where I just saw the new team photo appear, and I was like, hey, I pretty much know all of these guys now. So I love that. I love the feeling.
It's coming second nature to you, and it's really nice. It is. So if anyone's in the chat and wants to write any questions to Mikey, then please do. But obviously, Mikey, you're following West Ham in the season, and it's very different season so far to last season. The game tomorrow becomes huge for West Ham against Bournemouth. Historic. History says that this could be on paper a big banana skin for West Ham, because when we really need a result, something could go against us. But we are also a different West Ham, and we are turning some of those voodoos on their head. We have been for the last couple of seasons, but results haven't gone well for us this weekend. We could be in with a big boost with some players available. We might not have the players available. David Moyes loves the whole kind of smoke and mirrors. He loves sending us fans and the opposition teams on this whole roundabout, and we come up with one solution, and it's never the right solution. But on the basis of that, how important do you find the game for tomorrow?
It's pretty early in the season to say that it's do or die. I think I've seen it in the chat somewhere that it's like, okay, well, if we get those 3 points, it gives us a bit of breather. If we don't, we're in trouble, and I guess that's a fair opinion. And it's true to never underestimate the teams where we should technically get those 3 points, because they always turn up and they always fight for every point they can get. So that's always a difficult situation, in my opinion. But I think, and I feel like what I've been seeing these last weeks is that there are starting to grow some connections. We brought in a lot of guys, and as I said in a comment earlier, you can't really expect them to just magically connect on from the get-go and give us the experience on the pitch that we all expect from them. We've seen beautiful things from Paqueta. I really like Scamacca's energy right now, but it's just now converting all those good intentions to actual goals and actual points. And I've got a feeling that for the first part of the season, we've edged out on almost any time. So it's almost 3 points there, almost a point here. We just miss out on the final part of execution, both in defense and offense. So I think that it'll get better. Will it get better starting from next game? I'm not sure. Might take a bit more time.
I think you're right, though. Again, we've been saying it. It's like it's a really tough one because we've been calling for signatures. West Ham have been calling for new signings, and when we get the new signings, I think a lot of people, not all, but a lot, expect instant results. And West Ham fans don't necessarily know this for a fact because we haven't signed players for such a long time, especially to this number. But when you look at other teams, you think, well, it's going to take a while for these players to gel. And like you said, I think we've been there or thereabouts, but we haven't just got the deal over the line, or we haven't scored the goal, or we've been getting chances and we haven't put the ball in the back of the net. But I'm seeing glimpses. I am seeing glimpses. There are positives that I am taking from the game. Now, we go to the Liverpool game, for example, Mikey, and you think, historically West Ham turn up at Liverpool, and 9 times out of 10 we respect the opposition too much and let them come at us. And I've never in my lifetime saw West Ham go to the game at Liverpool at Anfield with a high level of intensity, even with 3 central defensive midfielders in our team. And and the goal really knocked our stuffings out of us. But the second half, we really took the game to Liverpool. And you just felt like we couldn't convert our chances. And when you listen to Moyes and Declan Rice talk at the end, what I really took from it was the form of unity. Like, they were devastated. Yeah. And they were so devastated, they were like, this is not going to happen again. We need to make sure we don't let something like this happen again. I don't know if you got that same vibe, Mikey, or not.
Well, the first thing is, of course, that Dak is just such an awesome captain for this team. Yes, he's young, but he's got such a mature presence around him, both on and off the pitch. So I think when it came to Noble waving his goodbye, it's just so nice to see that the ambition we saw in Dak, that he just stepped it up even a bigger level. So he's the kind of player where people look up to and other players look up to. So if he's like, okay, well, we're not going to let this happen a second time, I believe that has a huge impact on not only the fans, because it is nice to see a player not getting taken down by bad results, but getting more fiery, more feisty for a good result. And I think in the dressing room, it'll just have the same effect. So yeah, it makes me happy. You can take a defeat in 2 ways. And in my opinion, the way forward is always the best. So let's not dwell on okay, chances we've missed.
The
let's
result.
Not dwell on
yes,
but let's kick it up a notch to never let this happen again.
Yeah,
well, never.
Absolutely. There's a comment
to not let this happen again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, James Bong's written here a good point. Now, does social media negativity seep down into the mindset of the players? And he also says, "Good day, Mikey." By the way,
hi, James.
Now, I think that it can to a certain extent, but it depends on the sort of person you are. Now, I'm going to use an example. If anyone hasn't watched it yet, Bournemouth have released a video on their YouTube or Twitter page, and it's actually Declan Rice talking to Ryan Fredericks. And they are talking over the screen, and they're talking about the pluses and negatives about each of the players. And Ryan Fredericks, they're having a laugh because they're I think they're best mates. And Ryan Frederick says the one thing you'll notice about Declan Rice is no matter where you go in the world, he's always stuck to his phone. He's sitting watching videos on YouTube. He's sitting looking at Twitter. He's sitting looking at Instagram. They said that he is literally like this with his phone against his face. So that makes me think, though, you know, if the captain's doing that, then some of the other players are doing that as well. So we may as well not think that they're not on there. They'll probably will see some of the stuff that's written, but will it have a negative impact or will it drive them even more? There's the question that many people need to think about.
It would be weird if it wouldn't have an impact. Would it necessarily be a negative impact? I'm not sure. Because, you know, Dak has been with us for quite a while. He's really grown into the team. So when you're reading all the comments online and, you know, you get 100 positives and one negative, it's just normal psychology to have the negative one resonate with you most. But I think that will be a bigger issue for the guys that are new to the team. If someone like Paqueta, who's our record signing now, if he reads 5 bad comments about him, it might play in his mind. Whereas Dak was like, well, you know, this is just a bad start for us, but last year we took it to Europa League semi-final. We'll get through it. Whereas the new guys, Cornet, Downs, especially guys like Downs who have that youthful and playfulness in them, they like, okay, well, I want to do my best here, and people shout at me for not being top, even though Downs has started off really, really well all the games he plays. So it's going to be a matter of how mature people can be, and in Dak's case, I don't see it having a negative impact. I'd rather see it having a positive impact. Oh, okay, these people are talking trash about me. I'll show them. But for the new signings, yes. For the younger ones, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, listen, I'm going to put a poll in the YouTube channel. So it's for the purpose to try and see if the point can be proven about social media. I'm actually going to put in there, for the purpose of an exercise, are you Moyes in or are you Moyes out? Now, for me, I'm Moyes in. Absolutely. I'm not even questioning. But I'm doing it to try and prove the point. Does social as a majority, this was, you know, when I'm around the stadium, the vibe is that promo don't think remotely about Moyes leaving the club, whereas there are so many fans that are on social media. It reads different. It comes across very different. You know, the vocal ones will say, "Nah, Moyes definitely is out," but there's no ifs and buts about it, Mikey. You know, when a manager struggles for the start of a season and struggles to pick up points, and then suddenly you pick up a few points in games, and then you find yourself in 17th place in the league with only 4 Premier League games to go before the World Cup starts. Do you think that puts David Moyes under a bit of pressure?
Well, yeah, but in the same way that a manager is under pressure, even if he's like in the 4th position, to just get to that number 1 spot. Well, no, it'll be a bit tenser, of course, but I think, and it's difficult to judge from outside of England because I don't get all those interviews, all the press talking about it. But in my opinion, you know, when you see what the guy did last year, how far West Ham has gotten throughout the year, both in Europe and domestic, it would be really weird that he'd fear for his job when he once again in Europe took, what is it, 12 out of 12 now. And okay, the squad is struggling, but I can't see him worrying about his job right now. So to me, I'm definitely a Moyes in guy. When I came on the channel the first time, I didn't know about him. I didn't know about his tactics, but even though I don't agree with all the decisions he's making, I do respect what he has achieved for the club, especially when I saw you talking about what it meant for the club to go this far in Europe, to be this high up in the Premier League. So to me, he does have quite a bit of bandwidth left before I'd really start to shout that he has to worry for his job. To me, he's well, it's the phrase "in Moyes we trust," and to me that still sounds strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. The poll I just put in actually did it. Changed the word. I've now reworded it now. So for anyone that doesn't know, for anyone that does see it, but for me, I actually don't even think it's a close decision. I don't think it is. I think the only way that Moyes would have been really shaky in his job is if we hadn't picked up some results over the last 4 weeks and we continued that run before Christmas, before the World Cup. But the fact of the matter is we have picked up 7 points from 12 over the last 4 games. And I think if you'd have said that 4 games ago, a lot of fans would have snapped your hands off for it. It's just that you don't think about the results that happen in and around you. And I think that's what maybe puts a little bit of pressure on the game tomorrow. Definitely puts a little bit of pressure on the game tomorrow because you're then starting to think,
well, we have to win these kind of games. We have to win these kind of games. When you're looking at teams like Brighton, they're stepping up. So it would be pretty nuts to go in and say like, okay, well, when we're facing Brighton, we'll definitely get the 3 points. But when you're facing Bournemouth, when you're facing Forest, you basically have to go into the game and say like, okay, well, we're going to dominate this game. And with Forest, of course, we've seen that it doesn't really go that way. So it is an important game, and we do need to step up. We do need to be at our best to not be in trouble. That's the truth of the matter.
Moore is saying, I feel sorry for Sefao. He's a victim of negative tactics. He does not have enough options around him. I think he's better than Johnson, though. For me, I think it's okay for players to get criticised, but not to be terrorised. Big difference. I was a big criticizer, but I've got the man's top here. I love the guy. I think he's a quality player for us, but I think when there's a time and a place when a player needs to be rested and needs to be given that support mechanism around him, I thought he had 2 very good games against Anderlecht, and I think that's good for him and good for West Ham that he is there. I think he needed to be dropped because the game against Everton, like I mentioned earlier, he was losing the ball a lot and Everton attacked that side a lot and Jared Bowen had to drop back and do things he didn't need to do, which really in theory impacted our game a lot. Now, by giving him that rest and putting Kira in there, really then became Kira's position to lose. And now that we've had a bit of an injury crisis in our defence, it's opened it back up again. And Johnson didn't have a great game, of course, last time out against Liverpool. So the position is there. But when it comes to Sefao, I mean, what's your thoughts on him, Mikey?
I'm so happy you asked me that question. You know, there are 2 people, 2 players outside of the usual ones. So, you know, you when you ask who do you love in the squad, you always go like, oh, I love Bowen, I love Rice. But there are 2 that I really rate highly, and Soufal is definitely one of them. The other ones being the other one being Fornals. You know, and it's mainly just for kind of work ethic I see. When they're on the pitch, even if it's not going their way, they're still going for it. And both players, both Fornals and Soufal, are left out of the team regularly. And if I'm honest, not unsurprisingly, because indeed Soufal does have did have a few bad games. So it's normal that he's not making his squad now. Fornals has a lot of competition on his side. So, but it comes to work ethic, and when it comes to, you know, you really need those ambassadors on the pitch who like wear the shirt proudly, and who are not afraid to sweat until their shirt is wet. So Soufal is definitely there for me. I really like his contribution to the team.
Lord Speed has just joined the show, and he says, "What's the big boost? Just join." So the boost is that, you know, there's an expectation that Dawson could be around for the game tomorrow. There's an expectation that Paqueta could be around for the game tomorrow. There's also an expectation that Corney could be around for the game tomorrow. All three players have trained on the grass. All three players are there or thereabouts, and all three players are, I believe, declaring themselves fit for the game. It's down to what West Ham believe if they're ready to rock and roll. Now, we have seen Moyes make comments in press conferences and things change it up dramatically. So key words he says is may are the key words, may be available. So Cornet, etc. Loads of images you're starting to see of him out there playing with the team, getting himself around. And on top of that, you've got Aguerd playing football with the players for the first time, which is really
I was so
big
happy
positive.
to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I was really
are you
happy
excited
to
about
see
him,
that.
Mikey? Excited about him?
Oh yeah, of course. The first games, when we're talking about players needing time to fit in, Aguerd was like he was there, and he was an instant presence to the team. It was an instant boost to our defense.
Mm-hmm.
So when let's be dramatic and say when disaster strikes and you're out of the game for a couple of times, of course it's going to play a big role on how we defensively take that task ahead, because he left such a big impression to me personally, that I couldn't imagine someone stepping in and was like, okay, well, I'll just do what Aguerd did. And we've seen it. We've seen a lot of attempts to create a tight line in that defense, but it wasn't as snappy as what Aguerd has been doing. So yeah. I really loved those pictures to see him on the pitch. Yeah.
I think it's a big boost for West Ham. Huge boost for West Ham. Huge boost for him. Huge boost for us, because it's going to be like he is a new signing that's not played. He's only played a pre-season, and from the minimal amount of times that we saw him in a West Ham shirt, his pace is what actually, in theory, got him injured. If he wasn't as fast as what he was, he made the mistake that led to Rangers trying to get the ball, and he tracked back and won the tackle, but in winning the tackle, injured himself in winning it. Yeah. So his frightening pace and his ability on the ball is what we lack so much in defense. We had a player once upon a time, or a couple of players once upon a time, Winston Reid, going back not so long ago, but ish, he was really calm and collected on the ball, and he really brought that calmness in our defence alongside whoever he played with. The last season at Upton Park, he played alongside Ogbonna. Ogbonna was our stepping out defender. Winston Reid was the watcher, the ball watcher, the game reader, could read the game like that, and he would shout and demand and command from the back. And then when he got a really bad injury and was out for 3 years, which inevitably left for him leaving the club, we relied on Ginge, Mr. James Collins, coming into the team, and there's some great player for West Ham, always been there for many years, but still wasn't offering us that calm and collected approach in defence. Even Zuma still doesn't offer us that, even though I rate Zuma really highly. Aguerd looks like he is that piece of that jigsaw. He looks like he has that calming effect in defence. He's tall, he can stride, but he reads the game really well, and he's comfortable with the ball at his feet, as well as being a good defender. And I think that's huge for West Ham. I think we'll see him thereabouts maybe in the squad, see him in the squad tomorrow, and then coming into the European games, we'll probably see him feature a little bit more. But you never know when it comes to David Moyes, Mikey, because he does.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's a Moyes thing, isn't it? So we never know. If you need to, Mikey, you let me know if you need to go. By the way, if you're happy to stay there,
no.
Here, so
I'm happy to stay as long as you let me.
Yeah, that's fine. No worries at all. Eddie's saying Antonio and Scamacca are our biggest threats. That they're not on the pitch at the same time is maddening. Moyes needs to find a way, or sent packing at the start of the World Cup break. But, we saw a little bit of Antonio and Scamacca come on the field against Liverpool, and, never had enough time really to do it. Lots of people calling for Antonio to come up, whether West Ham play a two up top or put Antonio out on the left. Is it too premature to do that?
Against Liverpool, it felt it felt like it was a solution that was invented at that moment to try and take the game our way. It and correct me if I'm wrong, but it didn't feel like they were playing as one time two strikers, but more like two times one striker. They weren't really, I'll just say it right. They weren't finding each other the way at expected if you play two up front. So yes, it's an option, I believe. However, if we're going to go all games with two up front, I'm once again starting to worry about Antonio's fitness. So it might be a good opportunity in some of the games, but they would have to have a lot more chemistry to justify that position.
I think you're probably right. I think that maybe right now, key elements to West Ham game is going to be our defence. Make sure players are fit there. Paqueta's back. Give him and Scamacca that time to gel again in the last 4 Premier League games. Bring Antonio on as the impact sub that we saw he was vital in doing against Fulham. It worked. It worked wonders for him. And, again, I'll state this and I'll keep stating it. You look through the Premier League and you've got to try and find two strong strikers with very different attributes like Antonio and Scamacca. You're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. Both players that can score goals in different ways and can cause defenses a lot of problems. So I think for me, the key falls upon other players in other departments that are fit, that would allow West Ham to be as fruitful as we want to be moving forward as well.
Absolutely, because if for instance, let's say Aguerd comes back and he takes on that leader role that we all see him provide in that defense line. Right now, our defense is kind of looking a lot at Rice, whereas he has to be higher up the pitch. He can't just all say like, okay, well, let's defend one way or another. Let's get the troops together. We need a true leader in that pack. So I think if a leader like Aguerd steps up in defense, we're gonna have a lot. It's gonna be a lot easier to push forward. And Rice can go further up. Yes, Scamacca, Antonio doubles up front. I like the idea. I don't really hate it. It just needs a lot more chemistry at the moment.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Scott is saying Moyes out equals rash decision. Massive changes happening at the club. Huge squad turnover now would be craziness. I do agree with you, Scott. Adam is saying nice that he's clear and he knows what he's talking about, and when he's on, he's so knowledgeable. It's nice to see and hear. There you go. That's about you, Mikey. So
thank you, Adam.
Everyone is a critic, yet most have never managed a youth squad, let alone a Premier League squad. Newsflash, Moyes knows better than we do. You're right, mate. This is Scott. This is why when I do these shows, and I've been saying it for years, this is why I'm sitting in this little tiny freezing cold with my little pictures up here, and I'm not in a really nice house that's worth millions of pounds, and watching West Ham from the sidelines and making the decision making. It's easy for us to make criticize, but
I think best we all achieved with West Ham is playing Champions League football with FIFA, which I was just doing actually.
Just doing as well.
Yeah, love that. It's still on waiting there for me to finish up here.
And hopefully West Ham are getting it. Where are we? Where are we in the Champions League?
We're nearing the winter break now, so we're through to the round of 16.
All right, excellent, good. Well, fingers crossed we can do that officially.
Oh, well, we will.
Luthers is saying it's annoying that Corney was injured in the Wolves game and he's missed 6 games so far, yet Moyes said it was a slight calf strain. Did Moyes lie about it, or did he really not know? He was guessing. Luthers, the thing is, I think now he has said it was a slight calf strain, but there was also a kind of twist in some of the comments that he said. Now, I don't know if you know, but I take a keen interest in the press conference, and there's embargoed versions of it. So, you don't get the full picture until later on, a lot later on in the day. So they actually described Corney's injury similar to the kind of Creswell and Bowen situation, that there was a calf strain, but there was just something they couldn't really work out. And I was trying to use this as an example, whether it's a shit example or not, I don't know. But, I've had someone like give me a dead leg, but actually in the calf area. And the calf area, it's really nippy. It's really sore. It's really aggravating. And I'm not an athlete. And if I was an athlete, I can only imagine that when you pick up these niggles, sometimes they can be excruciating and things like that. So I was just trying to pin 2 points, etc. But the thing we have to take as a positive, Ludders, is that he is posting on a regular occasion, him working out. So he's working on the calf. He's back in training now. So he's there. You know, I have no doubts about it. If he's not featuring tomorrow, he'll feature on Thursday. So I think we'll see him. I'm not worried about that. I think we'll see him back. But I get it. I get what you're saying. Like, you want to know. You really do want to know. So we'll have to see here. Scott is saying, here's the real question. Can we keep Skamaka away from the big clubs once he starts scoring a goal a game pace? I do think we can. I do think we will. And I do think he will get a good goal scoring record for West Ham. I really see it. I really see it. As we grow, as we transition, which we are currently doing, as this all happens, Scott, I can see it. I can see it all happening as well. Ludder says, would just like the free scoring team that we had at the beginning of last season. We haven't scored more than 3 in a game all season. Get it. I completely get it. It was such an exciting time to watch West Ham. And now that suddenly, you feel like that's suddenly gone. The big but to me is, and it depends on the fan you are, I see the positives more than I see the negatives. But there are fans out there that see the negatives more than they see the positives. So for me, Ludders, I see what this can be rather than what it can't be. Where some will say, well, it can't be that because they can't see that. You know, for me, it's about what I can see, what the vision. And I think Moyes has that vision, and I believe in the vision. Totally believe in the vision, Mikey. I really do.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree.
Now, this is interesting. Eddie says, sure, let's wait till Moyes is 0 for 100 against the top 4 and we'll talk about it. Enjoy the lousy football till then. But listen, we're always going to have people that have different opinions on it, innit? So
yeah, but that's okay. You know, I've seen new players come in that want to play for West Ham. It's such a big difference compared to when you just are able to buy a player and he just comes to West Ham because it's a logical step. But a lot of players that came in really said, like, okay, I really want to play for this football club. It's a beautiful club, and I fully support the journey we're on. It's such a big difference. So yeah, I can understand why someone would say, like, okay, even this comment where Bournemouth is going to take the win. It might be possible, but at least we know we'll have players on the pitch that'll give it their all. Not so sure about 1-2, but sure.
Scott is saying, if we've qualified for the final 16 and in 10th spot at the World Cup break with all these new players and injuries, would people be upset? No, absolutely would not.
I couldn't imagine. Can't imagine that I'd be upset after last season. No, can't imagine.
Yeah. Please, I have rephrased the poll, Vinny. So I think the answers, I got the actually. Oh, where is it gone? I think it disappeared. I think it was like 70. Here it is. Here it is. 73% are in, and 26% are out. So I think the point I was trying to prove was is the vocal fan a majority, or are they a minority? Because the vocal ones you see are the ones that are shouting about him being out of the club. But there's an overwhelming, albeit the poll is not a huge amount of number of people voting. But if you use that poll as an example of generic polls, then it's an overwhelming victory for David Moyes to stay.
Yeah, it's a subtle thing about social media where minorities can shout pretty loud and it may seem like they are a big group. So I definitely tend to follow the result of the poll, however small the joiners may be.
Usual Suspect says, Anton, your poll is as confusing as Moyes' tactic. Have I watched the film Bullet Train? Is that the one with Denzel Washington? I think it is Denzel Washington.
I have not.
No, I have. I think I have. If it is the one I think it is, so you can let me know. EBF. There's so many comments here, Mikey. I'm going to need to jump through them because I'm going to need to head very soon as well.
Yeah, no worries. Let's go.
With let's just say there's 5 minutes to go. So you've got 5 minutes now to call the number below. If you're interested in coming on and having your 2 pennies worth, then please click on that number. Dial the number. 011. Where is it here? 0116 318 3846. Then you can come in and have your opinion on the show as well. There's more to being a manager than just fielding a squad. Backroom management, youth development, scouting, day-to-day business, squad morale, and even more. Sack your manager, and that's stops. Mark Bedden says, Moyes in my opinion. Look at what he's done over the last few seasons. It will never be all the ups and downs. No downs, just isn't that way. Let's just keep supporting Moyes and the team. Come on, you irons. Ludder says, feels that Moyes is missing Pierce's help as well. Charlie says, well done, Mark Bedden. Scarborough Hammer says, the thing is Sufal's not a right wing back. Kira would be better there. Kevin Locke says the best teams will always have a manager. If we get a new one, they have to agree with Moyes. The usual suspect says Leeds manager should be gone by Monday afternoon. God, it's like the merry-go-round. I mean, I think this has got the potential record, Mikey, for Premier League managers sacked before the winter break. I've never saw so many managers leave so quickly in the Premier League as it has been this year.
Yeah, but it has also been, well, it has, apart from Manchester City, I believe none of the teams are really playing as expected. Some are really upping their game, like Brighton. Others are just really struggling to get a grip of the squad and of the game.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not unusual that someone like Potter, for example, gets taken away from Brighton. But of course, they have to go looking for a new manager. So, not surprised when you're looking at how the season has gone so far for a lot of teams.
Yep, absolutely. Vinny says, I just want Moyes to play more attacking players. If he does that, then stop starting the 7 to 8 defenders. If he does that, then I'm Moyes in. Adam Cook says, I still think a lot of players are Moyes out are people who didn't want him from the start. And I did. It's been the best 2 years for a long time, and I'm 57. Yeah, I mean, I'll put my hand up and say I didn't want him from the start. I really didn't. But he's completely changed my opinion. Not just on West Ham, but on football in general. He's made me see football extremely differently, and I didn't think I'd ever say that. Didn't think I would change my opinion on how football is. You know, I think I would be sitting here now. If Moyes hadn't came into the club, I'd be sitting here now going, why are we not signing a £50 million player? Why are we not signing a £60 million player? Why are we not spending this amount of money, all that? You know, he's taught me that it's about pieces of the jigsaw as well. English Artie says, Dawson plays, we will be better on defence. I mean, I just still can't get my head around it, and I love it, but I still can't get my head around the fact that we rely so heavily on Craig Dawson. It's great to think that he's came in from low expectations and become everything that we desire and need in our defence. Scott is saying, you can question Sefal's quality but never his commitment and effort. Anyone who is trashing him on social media has trashed themselves. The guy bleeds for the badge. Yes.
Absolutely.
Ralph is saying, Scott, commitment and effort isn't skilled. Moyes has destroyed Fornals. He just runs around. I think there's still a complete place in the squad for Fornals. I think he'll grow into this squad.
You know, I can tell you the exact moments where he stole my heart. I'm not sure who we played against, but we scored and he wasn't involved in the goal, but you could see him in the bottom right corner just shouting and he was so happy to get that goal, even though he wasn't involved, and you know, steals my heart every time again I see it.
Absolutely. Freshfielder's in the house. Freshfielder, I've not saw you for such a long time. Sean, good to see you, mate. I hope you are keeping well. He's saying hi to you as well, Mikey. So it's really good to see you, Freshfielder, as well. James Bong says, Mikey is a natural, proper punditry. There you go, Mikey.
Thank you so much.
You've got a future in this. Maybe we'll have some negotiations with you. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll negotiate with you.
Already open.
Fornals' class never stops and is always looking for that killer pass.
Absolutely.
We all know it's the same setup against Bournemouth. That's what annoys the majority. Mandy G's in the house. Oi, oi. Scott's saying this. Emerson, Cornet, Paqueta compliments Skamaka. Antonio compliments Bowen. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Right. It's just right.
Yeah. No surprise in our team and lineup. Everyone knows who will play and where. And again, I'm a fan too, with my own opinion. Everybody's allowed one. I will say starting a Souček weekend and week in and week out when Downs has had man of the match performances. A bit curious, though. Souček has been better as of late. Well, the three of them, Declan Rice, Souček, well, they played together against Liverpool, but Souček and Downs did nothing but positive in the game against Liverpool. They both did themselves the world of good. And I said this before, people will call for Downs to start, but even if he doesn't start, we have a player that is going to get utilised in the Premier League. Let's compare Alex Kroll to Flynn Downs. Like, it seems to be that there is no comparison. As much as I don't like to see a player like that situation happen and he doesn't get game time, and he seems to be doing really well in the club he's at just now, but for me, Flynn Downs is potentially a future long-term West Ham first teamer. It's just when
I think he might be captain when Rice leaves.
Yeah,
although that might be a bit too soon, but I see captain material all over him.
Yeah, I think I do agree with you as well. Yeah, I do. Anton, you have pessimists, you have people who are optimists, but then you have realists. A point per game, 1 point per game since December. That's shocking. I get it. Yep, I do get it. But I think since December we have been to a semi-final of Europa League, and the Premier League did take a bit of an impact on that as well. So I get it. I do. Adam Cook says most want Moyes in, but just keep quiet and moan about losing. And if players play bad, moan about them. But it's still only people's opinions. You're right. I'm going to have to jump through the comments here. Good question, Helen. I had heard we're trying to find a home for him to finish his career. What's that question? Do we know if Randolph was and why he was missing from the team picture? Now, when the picture got, I don't know if you've seen this, Mikey. I don't know if you've noticed it, but Darren Randolph, our third keeper, has been photoshopped in the team photo.
I thought he looked kind of crazy there.
Yeah. So he's been photoshopped, and then
was that photoshopped? Damn.
Yeah, other images were then released showing us the real picture, not from the club, from someone else who was there, and he is definitely missing from the picture. But who asked me that question? Was it Ludders? Yeah, it was Ludders. I believe, now correct me if I'm wrong, that this picture wasn't taken this week. These pictures were taken a while ago, and Darren Randolph had a kid recently. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's why he was missing from that team picture. I really wouldn't be surprised. The club, again, I could be wrong with this, but I seem to think that this picture situation was taken 4 weeks ago rather than last week. But if I'm wrong, someone can correct me on that one as well.
Behind the scenes, it was quite a sunny day, and I can imagine it being quite sunny last week.
Although randomly, it has been really quite warm in the country.
With you guys, it has been? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really this time of year, like it's questionably odd. Like, we're not used to the temperatures we're getting. It's especially down south. I think they were getting highs of 20 as well, which is really random at this time of year, where they never get that. It's usually freezing cold here as well. So others is saying, I feel so much more confident when Dawson is playing. Must win tomorrow. No crap. Is Zuma still carrying an injury? I think Zuma carries an injury his whole life, but he still plays. So I don't think we've got any problems with him there at all. English Yardy says, where's that comment gone? I'm just hoping tomorrow we don't just sit back and absorb pressure tomorrow. If I see Fornals in the lineup, we are playing defensive football. I'm not a Fornals hater at all. No, I think I probably agree with that. I am Fornals' biggest fans. I can love the guy. I think he's brilliant, but
absolutely. But indeed, that Fornals, when it comes to the final third, he'll leave that up to someone else, and he'll just make sure that when there's a counterattack coming up, he'll be there to try and stop it. But that is a more defensive approach.
Yeah. 100%. Adam Cook says Zuma looks slow for me and is too injury prone. So for me, I'd move him on. Yeah, I can see that. I can see why he looks a little bit slower. But if you look at the Liverpool game, I actually thought he had a very good game. He's so physical, man. He can, as much as I kind of said he can't read the game, he can really read the game well. He's an extremely good reader of the ball and reader of the game. So, if I think about that last gasp tackle that put the ball onto the crossbar, so effective. So effective. Peter Jones says, "Son, you're not a realist if you don't realise that we've taken on 8 new recruits, which would disrupt any team." Ralph says, "All these babies everywhere academy looking good in 20 years." There you go. Listen, I'm going to call it quits there, Mikey. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate, to have you on. It really has been, and we'd love to have you back.
It's been a pleasure to be back.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, it's cool. It's really nice. It's nice for you to be back on, and we'll chat and see if you're around a bit more often and you're up for doing some stuff. Then you let me know, and hope the family are keeping well as well. And you go and take West Ham to the Champions League final.
I've got a game against Liverpool coming up on the 1st of January. Can you imagine? We'll beat them 5-0.
Mikey, before you go, mate, what's your predictions for tomorrow?
It's gonna go 1-0 for us.
Right.
But it'll be like a 78 minutes from Antonio.
Okay.
It's gonna be something like that.
It's
gonna be really random.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to worry about losing 3 points for 10 minutes, and the VAR is gonna check for 10 minutes and something like that. But
God,
it's gonna be really edgy. Yeah.
It sounds exciting.
1-0. That's my prediction.
Mikey, thank you so much. Take it easy, my friend. And
thank you so much for having me. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too, mate. Take it easy. Come on, your hands.
Come on.
How nice was that to have Mikey on the channel? Really appreciate him being here as well. So that brings an end to the show. So if you're just catching up with us, it started by saying big boost for West Ham ahead of the game against Bournemouth. Dawson could be in and around the squad tomorrow. Cornet could be in and around the squad tomorrow. Paqueta could be in and around the squad tomorrow. Aguerd could be in and around the squad tomorrow. I don't think all 4 will be there, but I think we'll see a couple of the 4 players feature in some format or another. I think one of the 4 at least will start the game. I think it might be Dawson. 2 possibly when it comes to Paqueta. But they're the 2 key feature players for me. Paqueta and Dawson, as long as they start, they really change the dynamics of our team. Like I said, Dawson starts, it pushes Keir out to the right back. That gives Bowen the freedom to do what he does on the right-hand side. We've got a shored-up defence. If Paqueta starts through the middle, it means we don't have to play 3 central defensive midfielders. We've got the creativity there to support Scamacca. Who knows? We'll see tomorrow when it comes to the team lineup. Thank you for watching. Of course, if you're interested in becoming a member, click on the option that says join. Here, you click on that and it takes you through and shows you all the tier processes. If you're new around here, click the subscribe button as well. That does help us out. Also, hit the thumbs up. Let us know if you've enjoyed the content. And what's the final thing I do say to you? Leave a comment and give us your feedback. Let us know if you're happy with what we're doing. And I hope you are. But it's been a pleasure. And I hope you all have a great Sunday evening. Join us tomorrow. There'll be match day mornings. I think it's match day morning, match day afternoon, Stat Attack, Match Day Live, and the reviews live from the stadium as well. Take it easy, everyone. Of course, come on, you Irons.
It's like a family tree, part of you.